Hey, do you guys know what's going on in One Piece right now? Because oh, that wasn't a rhetorical question or anything, by the way. That wasn't like, hey, you guys know what's going on in One Piece right now, right? Yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, yeah, you know. No, seriously, do you know what's going on in One Piece right now? Because there's a lot of stuff happening. One could even say it's everything, everywhere, all at once. Which is a movie I have not seen, but apparently it's really good. I gotta check that out. But yeah, you know, a lot of stuff going on in One Piece right now. So today, we're gonna be looking at all of it. We're gonna be looking at all the different groups and where they're at and what's happening. You know, your standard One Piece arc, you know, we're well beyond that at this point. As soon as Wano ended, Oda really pumped the gas a little bit here on this story, which makes sense. We're entering the final saga, but you know, your standard One Piece arc is the Straw Hats, you know, it's self-contained with them for the most part. You know, they arrive at an island, they marvel at the archaeology, not the archaeology. Well, Robin would marvel at the archaeology, but the architecture of the island. And wow, this island is so cool. You know, oh, there's toys walking around, or there's animals walking around. You know, whatever. You know, Luffy punches out a giant animal at some point. Zoro and Sanji argue, and that's pretty much the arc, right? But after Wano, it's like, no, we got to focus on a lot of different groups at once. So not only are we focusing on the Straw Hats at Egghead having their adventure, we're also focusing on the Heart Pirates and the Kid Pirates and the Marines and the Gorosei and, you know, stuff going on with Marco and stuff going on with Garp and Kobe and stuff going on with Vivi right now. Like, it's all happening right here, right now. You know, so we got to talk about all of it, all right? So in this video, I will try... I'm the worst person to, like, I go off on tangents all the time, so I'm not really that best suited for, like, tackling each individual moment, because I'm gonna break off and go starting off talking about some random thing that doesn't matter, but I will try my best, okay? So, let us begin with where we're at right now with the Straw Hats, okay? The main story. Story A, let's say, okay? The A plot, all right? We're at Egghead Island right now. It's the island of the future. It is Vegapunk's own private island that he's changed into his laboratory of the future, okay? And so, of course, we have Vegapunk himself, a character that has been very mysterious throughout the One Piece story for several years, well over a decade. We finally get introduced to him. The Straw Hats are there, and the main issue there is that Vegapunk is about to be assassinated by the world government. So they sent Cypher Pole Aegis Zero. We got Rob Lucci, we got Kaku, we got Stussy, all heading to the island to eliminate Vegapunk. And so the whole premise of this arc really at the beginning was, all right, we got to figure out a way to get Vegapunk off the island away from the government assassins. But then that all took a flip when we discovered that there was actually a traitor in the midst of Egghead Island that is preventing Vegapunk from leaving. We, of course, get introduced to Vegapunk's 6 satellites, Shaka, Lilith, Pythagoras, Edison, Atlas, and York, and they're all there, different aspects of Vegapunk's personality. We get to learn a little bit more about him, how he ate the Nomi, all that kind of stuff. We also have the other pacifistas, which are, well, the pacifistas in the form of the Mark IIIs, which were the army, the updated versions of Kuma pacifista that are rampaging through the island right now. But we also have the Seraphim, who are Lunarian warlord clones that have green blood, which gives them devil fruit abilities, paramecia abilities to be specific. So we have S-Bear, who is Kuma's Seraphim that has the Paw fruit, and we have S-Snake, who is Boa's Seraphim that has the Love fruit. But on top of that, we also have Mihawk's Seraphim, S-Hawk, who has the ability of the Dice fruit, which is wielded by Mr. One Daz Bones. And we had S-Shark, Jinbei Seraphim, that has the power of the Swim fruit, okay? And so they follow a very specific command structure. So Egghead really was a mystery arc, okay? Which is something we've definitely dealt with in One Piece before. Like, remember, like, honestly, just in the previous arc, we had a whole subplot in the previous arc of Wano of who, see, I'm already doing it. I'm already going off on tangents, but that's how it goes. We had a whole mystery of who the traitor was amongst the scabbards, and that was revealed to be Kanjuro, okay? And then in the next arc, we're doing something kind of similar, except it's with new characters that we haven't really met before. We were with Kanjuro for several story arcs, so that mystery was more about, like, okay, the person that's betraying us is somebody that we, the fans, have known about for several years at this point, and it was true. It turned out to be Kanjuro. This time around, it's kind of more moving parts and like all these satellites that we were just introduced to, and some other characters, and then the Seraphim themselves. Maybe there's more Seraphim, whatever. And then a member of the Gorosei is heading to the island, which is very unusual, okay? But Also, by the way, this will be spoilers for everything up to chapter 1078, so if you don't want spoilers for anything beyond that, you stop here. But we found out that at least one part of this is that the traitor is York, a member of, Vegapunk's satellites who embodies his aspect of greed or desire, all right? Is York everything, like just that ends right there with her, or is there other aspects to this? We do not know yet. Also on Egghead going on here, even on Egghead itself, we have like 3 different plot threads happening, okay? We have maybe the B plot of Egghead. We have Jewelry Bonnie there, wanting to discover the mystery of her father and exactly why Kuma became a pacifista, why he had his memories and consciousness and morals and everything removed from him, and Vegapunk was the one that conducted that operation, so Jewelry Bonnie is there to uncover the truth, to learn about what, happened with her father and then Vegapunk and everything. And we're not really focusing on her all that much because there's a lot of other stuff happening right now. Most of Bonnie's detective work involved accessing Kuma's memory ball. The memory that, Kuma rejected from himself. And so she entered the memory ball and we got to see a little bit of Kuma's past. He grew up as a slave, tried to escape, and the other slaves tried to drag him back because if, he escapes, then all of the slaves will be punished. And that's all we really saw of Kuma's backstory so far. But last chapter, we saw Bonnie in the memory bubble crying. So it was implied that she really knows everything about it now, and that the weight of Kuma's pain, not his physical pain, but just his mental pain, was enough for her to just break down sobbing, okay? So the actual Kuma, on the other hand, though, is currently at the Red Port. So that's another location where he's currently climbing up the wall of the Red Line, apparently heading toward Marijois. He was at Marijois, and then he got taken off by the Revolutionary Army to the Kamabaka Kingdom. And now he left, and now he's going back up to the top again. So, it's a lot of stuff happening just with that alone. But Kuma is currently climbing the Red Line, so we'll see if he makes it to the top, or if he's going to be stopped halfway, or what's going to happen there. Actually, one of the admirals that's not really doing much of anything right now is actually Fujitora. So I'm thinking maybe Fujitora might be dispatched to deal with the Kuma situation because he's the only admiral that's not really doing anything. Also, right now, he has the power of the gravity fruit. So, I mean, if you want a giant robot to stop scaling a huge sheer rock wall, having the gravity fruit would probably help quite a bit there. So we'll see what's happening with that. Let's see. And also, as we're talking about admirals, Admiral Kizaru Borsalino is heading to Egghead right now with not just himself, but also one of the members of the Gorosei, the first one to ever be named, St. J. Garcia Saturn, as well as an entire fleet of Marine warships that make a Buster Call look like just a little, like a training operation on Easter morning. I don't know. I don't know why Easter morning. I don't know. Easter's coming up, I guess. I don't know. That's why I said that. Anyway, yeah, because those Marine operations on Easter, he's like, come on, guys. This is just a light training operation. We're going to go home and eat chocolate eggs. Okay, anyway. So there's like dozens and dozens, maybe well over 100 Marine battleships that are currently convening on Egghead. They're aware of Vegapunk studying the Void Century because York leaked all that information. They're also aware that Egghead has this massive defensive force, force fields, laser cannons, mechanized sea beasts patrolling the outskirts of the island, all the army of Pacifista Mark IIIs. They know they have a defense force, so they're really bringing all of it, okay? So we got Kizaru, who's going to be leading up this operation here as an admiral, a Navy High Admiral, as it were. We also have St. J. Garcia, who I'm not really sure if the Gorosei are going to turn out to be like really powerful fighters, but he's definitely going to be at least the one ordering Kizaru around. We also have Vice Admiral Dahl, who is the head of the Marine Branch G-14, which is very close to Egghead, as well as some other really high-ranking Marines, possibly Kadar. We haven't seen him in a while. These guys, I believe, are all, by the way, all the people that we saw in the last chapter, the dude with the long beard with the white streak, and also the dude with multiple jowls, as well as Dahl, and as well as the dude that may or may not be Kadar. I believe those are all Vice Admiral class. We know Dahl is a Vice Admiral, and we know that Kadar back in the day was like 10 years ago, he was a Rear Admiral, so definitely being promoted to Vice Admiral, very feasible. So the other two, imagine they're getting all these really powerful Vice Admirals together to go and convene on Egghead, and it's going to be this massive war. And the Straw Hats are at the heart of all of that right now. The Straw Hats are kind of separated throughout the lab. They're searching for Vegapunk. Luffy and Zoro are in the control room fighting against S-Bear and S-Hawk, although S-Hawk ran away, so Zoro and Kaku ran after him. Nami and Brooks' group are currently dealing with south as Shark, Sanji arrived to help them. Robin and Chopper's group are with Atlas, and they're heading to the basement right now, which is where we saw the big reveal with York revealing herself to the main Stella body of Vegapunk, who's also trapped in the basement right now inside of the prison cell. He's locked up with Sea Prism, so he can't really move, as well as all the other members of Cypherpole that were trapped there. Shaka got shot. Who else? We also have Frankie turned mostly to stone. Usopp is also turned to stone right now. Brook is in his soul form, so he's going to go patrol the lab looking for Vegapunk. Let's see, is that all the Straw Hats? I think I got all of them there. Yeah. So, yeah, and then Jinbei. No, Jinbei is still with Stussy, and they're heading to somewhere else right now. We don't really know what they're going to be up to next. But yeah, and then Stussy herself, who we find out in this arc is actually a clone of Miss Buckingham Stussy, who was a previous member of MAD, so that's a good transition to anything there, because that's most of everything that's happening on Egghead at the moment. We have, Lucci and Kaku fighting alongside Luffy and Zoro and everything. So the thing with Stussy, big reveal, is that she was a clone of Miss Buckingham Stussy, who is currently right now on SPHINX Island, or at least the last place we saw her was SPHINX Island, okay, alongside Marco. After Marco was away from, SPHINX to go fight at Wano, at Onigashima during the war, the Marines showed up, and they managed to actually, Weevil arrived to kind of defeat that initial force, but then Aramaki, Green Bull arrived, and then, managed to capture Weevil and tow him off to, I guess, Marine HQ or Impel Down or whatever, and Miss Buckingham is there still on SPHINX crying for the loss of her son, begging Marco, or rather ordering Marco to, you're gonna help us, you're gonna help bring back my baby boy, that kind of stuff. So that's what's happening right now. We learned that Miss Buckingham Stussy used to be a member of MADS way back in the day. Now, whether or not Marco is going to help her because he just left his island to Whitebeard's island that he grew up on to protect, which, by the way, while we're doing this really quick recap on everything, can we get an update on Whitebeard? I feel like it's been a while. What's Whitebeard up to right now? Still dead. Okay, well, you know what? It's important to check. It's important to check whether or not he's dead every once in a while, because it's One Piece. You never know, okay? Well, anywho, yeah. So, I don't know if Marco's gonna leave, because it's like, hey, I just left this island for, less than a week to go fight in a war, and the Marines showed up, okay? The Marines got wind of the fact I was gone, and they immediately descended on SPHINX. So, I really can't leave here anymore. So, I'm thinking what's more likely, instead of Marco going to help Weevil, because Weevil did help the island. Marco even said, I am indebted to you. I am really thankful, because if it wasn't for you, a lot of the people of this island would have suffered, okay? The Marines were ready to, shoot an old grandma because they wouldn't tell them where Whitebeard's treasure was, okay? So, yeah, I'm definitely indebted to you, but I can't leave this island. I could see Marco, calling up some of his old comrades in the Whitebeard crew. Perhaps Jozu, perhaps Vista, perhaps Blamenko, get King Do in on this, maybe Speed Jiru, whatever. Get all those guys together and just be like, hey, I need you to help me out. More as a favor from Marco rather than a favor from Miss Buckingham, okay? Because, yeah, while Miss Buckingham is the self-proclaimed lover of Whitebeard, most of the members of, even Marco, who's been on the crew forever, doesn't know anything about that. So it would be more about, maybe Marco calling up Vista and being like, hey, Vista, it's been a while since we've talked, but, yeah, I have this situation here. Could you help out Weevil? Just simply because he did help me out, okay? So I need a favor, essentially. I'm calling in a favor. And I could see maybe some of the other members of Whitebeard's crew. I could see Vista doing that, yes, Marco, it's been so long. My swords have not tasted blood in several years. I shall assist you, So Vista's cool. It would be cool to sweet. So Vista's pretty cool. It'd be sweet to see him in the story again, as well as some of the other Whitebeard commanders we haven't seen in quite some time, okay? So that's what's happening on SPHINX right now. So that's what Green Bull was up to. Aramaki, next time we'll see him, we'll probably see Aramaki with Weevil. And Weevil's pretty strong, but, Aramaki has the Mori Mori no Mi, the Forest Fruit, it's a Logia. You could see how it wouldn't be that difficult for Aramaki to capture Weevil, especially Weevil's not the sharpest tack around, so he's probably just going to, charge at Aramaki, and then he just activates the roots and then just traps Weevil. So next time we'll see him will probably be them en route to some location. So that's what Aramaki's up to, and what Kizaru's up to is at Egghead. So that's why I said maybe Fujitora will be dealing with the Kuma situation at Redport. So, moving along then to, since we're talking about Marines here, though, let's move on to the situation at G14, which was where we got to see Prince Groose, as well as Helmeppo, Hibari, and the situation with Kobe, the Captain Kobe incident, where Kobe was captured, purportedly, at Amazon Lily, was taken hostage by Blackbeard's crew, and apparently is now on Hachinosu. So, Helmeppo and Hibari are very upset. They want to go rescue their friend. However, was not going to help them because it's like, hey, that's, the Hachinosu. It's the beehive. If the Marines stick their face in there, we're going to get stung. So Prince Groose wasn't helping them. He's a rear admiral. And Dahl wasn't helping them, who's a vice admiral. And keep in mind also, Helmeppo and Hibari are members of SWORD as well as Kobe. And so they need someone to help. And so then, just when it all seems lost, Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp arrived at G14. And he's just like, all right, Helmeppo, Hibari, hop on the ship. We're going to go save Kobe's ass. I know Garp doesn't smoke cigars. Does Garp? I think, no, he does smoke cigars. I think we've seen Garp smoke cigars. He just takes out a big cigar, just like Arnold, and he's just like, all right, let's go rescue him. All right? And so that's honestly what I'm most excited for right now. I really want to see that. I really want to see that. And you know what? A lot of people, whenever I talk about the whole Garp versus Blackbeard thing, people are like, man, Tekking, you are hyping up Garp way too much. And I'm sorry, I am not going to change my stance on Garp v. Blackbeard. Garp is going to eviscerate, annihilate Blackbeard. It's going to be a crazy battle. I'm putting all my chips on this. I'm betting all. I'm betting it all right? But if Garp rolls up and Blackbeard does something and immediately, drops Garp, I'd be like, okay, fine. But, I gotta place my bets on Garp on this one, all right? So Garp rolls up and he's gonna go knock some heads, okay? And so I guess they're en route to Hachinosu right now, because all this stuff, by the way, keep in mind, timelines with all this. Some of this stuff is happening concurrently with the Straw Hats on Egghead. Some of this is happening right before Egghead, and some of this is happening well before Egghead. Case in point, now we're going to transition over to the Germa Kingdom. Yeah, now I just did a video about this last week, so I'm not going to go too into it, and this is the focus of the cover series, the Germa Double Six's Emotionless Excursion. This takes place immediately after Totland, maybe a day or two after the Straw Hats escape from Totland. So this is several weeks, if not well over a month. Before where we're at right now in the story. TLDR on this, Reiju and Ichiji break back into Whole Cake Chateau. They rescue Yonji and Niji. Caesar tags along. They go back to the Germa Fortress. Caesar and Judge reunite. They fight a little bit, but then they remember their time in Mads. They remember that Vegapunk was really the one that kind of got in their way. And then so then they decide to form a new organization called Neo Mads. So it's Caesar and Judge working together right now. Germa Science and Caesar's Mad Science working together. It's going to be scary. It's going to be very highly devastating. And we don't know what they're up to right now because, like I said, this all happened several weeks before where we're at right now in the story. They could be developing a new super weapon. They could be on their way to Egghead. They could be on their way to pretty much anywhere right now. They could be on their way to Marijois to overthrow the world government. Who knows? I don't know, but that's what's happening with them at the moment. Considering we were talking about other locations in the world right now, let's just talk about Vivi, because that's another location. Vivi, the princess, possible queen now of the Alabasta Kingdom, is with Wapol on board the World Economic Times mobile tea kettle hot air balloon kind of contraption that Morgan's controls, okay? So they're together right now. They're all traveling to another location. We're not really sure. Vivi's father, Cobra, seems to be straight up dead, so that I guess that would eventually make her the queen once she gets back to Alabasta and there's a whole coronation ceremony. She would be the next queen. Wapple's there looking very nervous because he's kind of part of the, he's in the journalist, hive right now, and, the world government is listening in on everything, and so Wapple really wants to maintain his reign and power over the evil Black Drum Kingdom. So I don't know if Wapple's going to be integral to any of this at all. If anything, they could always use him as an airbag. If Vivi just wants to jump out of the airship, Vivi could just grab Wapple, jump out of the airship, and then, Wapple serves as a cushion as Vivi lands, and then she just walks away. That could be the usefulness of Wapple. But no, he might also be involved here. Morgans is kind of really riding a high right now. Morgans is already this big news kind of guy. I'm Big News Morgans. I control a monopoly on all of the world's news media. Morgans. But now it's even more than that. It's more of just like, I control the news. You think you control the news? You think the Marines or the Yonko control the news? I control the news. I control fate. I craft the world into the message that I desire. History will remember me as big news. So that's what Morgans is up to right now. He's really just footloose and fancy free. You know what I mean? He's like, the world is crazy and it's changing constantly. Crazy days, crazy times. And Morgans is the one that's reporting on all of it, okay? And he's the one sending it out to the world. I can't imagine the insane stories that he's writing in that paper right now, okay? Getting the World Economic Times every day has just got to be like, you know, in today's news, Luffy becomes the 6th emperor, the 1st emperor. Actually, there's no emperors anymore. There's only one, and there's Luffy. There it is. In other news, the Marines are attacking Vegapunk. In other news, the Red Line is being attacked by a giant robot. You know, in other news, the moon is crashing down. You know, it's like, that's Morgans basically right now, and he's having a ball with it. So that's that. What's going on with the rest of the members of the Worst Generation? You know who I'm talking about specifically. We got, let's talk about Eustace Kid, I guess, a couple chapters ago. That's going over to ELBAF now. Okay, so now we're on ELBAF. Like I said, everything everywhere all at once. Pretty apt here. Over on ELBAF, the land of the giants, we got to see that Kid is arriving, and he's ready for a fight. And who's there to receive his call to fighting? Well, of course, it's red-haired Shanks. He's there getting drunk at a bar, as always. And not only that, but Dory and Broggy are there. Dory and Broggy arrived. Now, I did a whole video on the fact that Dory and Broggy are back at ELBAF right now, analyzing what would have happened with their duel and who won, and maybe getting Othin involved, who's the king of the giants, who we don't know is the king of the giants, but is probably king of the giants. By the way, a couple of things with that. So I say it Othin for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think in Old Norse that is the proper way to pronounce Odin, so Othin. But the other reason I say it is because we also have a character in One Piece named Odin, which is O-D-E-N, which is Kozuki Odin, but saying Odin and then Odin, phonetically, they're pretty much the same, so that might be a little confusing in the future, so I'm just going to say Othin, all right? That's like the Old Norse way of saying it, okay? Just like it's not Thor, it's like Thor, you know, it's like, you know, it's just more just to separate the king of the giants, if we actually get introduced to him, to Kozuki Odin, okay? So that's that. But anyway, yeah, so Dory and Broggy are there, made a whole video about that. Also, with that, it's just, I made this whole video talking about it, and I didn't even realize, and somebody even commented, multiple people commented, like, you know, Tekking, they could have just postponed their duel. They could have just, like, oh, all right, Dory, all right, Broggy, let's take a break for right now. We'll go deal with this thing on ELBAF, and then we'll come back and resume our duel. I mean, it kind of undercuts the whole thing, but I guess they could have done that. Sure, I guess that does make sense. Anyway, Shanks is there. He's got Dory and Broggy backing him up. He's got his whole crew there. He's got ally crews there. And Kid knows Shanks is there. Shanks knows Kid is there. And he sends Rockstar as an envoy of like, hey, tell him to drop his shit and leave. And then Rockstar goes, and Kid's like, I'm fighting to the death. And then, boy, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I guess we'll see. So that's what's happening on ELBAF at the moment. Then going on with Law. What's happening with Law right now? Well, Law turned into a woman and then back to a man again. They're dealing with the Blackbeard pirates at the moment over on Winter Island, which I have to pause for a moment because I learned something about this island, okay? So it's Winter Island. It's just like W-I-N-N-E-R, you know, and I'm thinking, okay, Winter Island. That's kind of an interesting name for that island. So I finally looked into it. This might not be exactly certain, but it might not actually be Winter Island. The pun here, because Oda loves his puns, and he loves his jokes, and he loves his toilet humor, it might actually be Wiener Island. And the idea for this is, you know, you could take, like, a hot dog, like a wiener, and you can cut it in a way to make it look like an octopus. And there's mountains on this island of Winter Island that kind of look like that. So it's not confirmed. It's just an idea. But this is Oda we're talking about here. I've been reading his manga for well over, actually probably close to 2 decades now of my life. You know, probably started reading the manga probably like 2005, 2006 in Shonen Jump. So it's getting close to 20 years now. I know his sense of humor. Oda would totally name an island after a wiener joke. That would be I could see Oda doing that. It might be more wiener as in sausage, like a hot dog, but wiener can also, it works. All of it lines up. All of it lines up. So Law is fighting Blackbeard on Wiener Island right now. Of course, Oda, of course. That's where the ultimate final battle takes place. Not Laugh Tale, Wiener Island. Okay. Anyway, the fight there, we didn't see a lot of it, but Blackbeard is there in person getting involved. Burgess has the power of the strength fruit, giving him just super strength on top of his already super strength. We have Van Augur, the sniper of the Blackbeard crew, having the power of the warp fruit. We see Doc Q having the power of the sick fruit. We see Stronger, the horse, having the power of the mythical horse model Pegasus fruit. And of course, Blackbeard himself has the Quake fruit from Whitebeard, as well as the darkness fruit that he had, he stole from Thatch, okay? So a lot of people were kind of worried there just because Law seems to be like the high and above the strongest member of his crew. Sachi and Penguin and Jean Bart and Beppo, they're not exactly weak, but they're also not like, I think a lot of people would be hard-pressed to put like, okay, so Law is pretty strong, okay? Putting Law in the same class as like Luffy, I think is fair. But then you have, of course, Beppo, who's the second strongest. So putting Beppo at the same level as Zoro, putting Sachi and Penguin at the same level of like Sanji and Jinbei. No, it doesn't really work. So a lot of people were worried there that, Law's crew is just going to get decimated. But I have high hopes. I think they can pull this off. Especially since with all this stuff happening right now, everything everywhere all at once, with all these different locations happening right now, it would be very easy for one of these to involve the other. Like, for example, Garp is heading to Hachinosu. While Blackbeard is dealing with Law, Blackbeard might receive a message from maybe Katarina or Avala Pizarro, somebody that's not with him, because not all of his Titanic captains are with him right now on Wiener Island fighting Law. You don't want to bring everybody to Wiener Island. I mean, that's just, okay. So anyway, back on Hachinosu, Blackbeard might receive, like, Garp is arriving, and Blackbeard might be like, actually Garp? He's like, yeah, he's here, he's knocking heads, and he's taking names. Blackbeard, teach, you gotta help us. He's chewing bubblegum and he's kicking ass and he's all out of bubblegum. God, help us. So Blackbeard might be like, oh, that's not good. All right, Augur, transport us back to the island. So they might warp back to Hachinosu to deal with the Blackbeard situation, which means Law manages to get away. A lot of that stuff could happen here. So I'm actually more interested, not really so much on everything that's happening individually, but how all of this is going to intersect, okay? How one thing is going to run into the other. How is the stuff on SPHINX Island going to intersect with everything? And then, stuff with Vivi and Big News Morgans, and the Germa with Judge and Caesar, and then with Kuma on the Red Line, and then where all the admirals are at, and then ELBAF and Egghead and Wiener Island and everything like that. It's crazy. It's insane. Okay, is that everything? I think I got everything. Oh, some stuff about also Pudding. Pudding was captured by Augur and Aokiji, and she is currently captive by the Blackbeard pirates. And so she's around the same area where Law and Blackbeard are fighting right now. She's like in the brig. Okay, so that's what's up with Pudding, and she has the power of the third eye to kind of read road poneglyphs, or has the potential to read poneglyphs, so that's why she's there. But yeah, and then Kaido and Big Mom, we still don't know what's up with them. We don't know their status right now. They could be still taking a lava nap, or they're unconscious or dead somewhere in the world. But yeah, I think that's everything. I mean, like, there's other stuff happening right now, but I think that's all the major stuff I think I tackled right here. So let me know if I missed anything major, I guess. There's the other supernovas, too, the other, worst generation, but, like, we don't know what's up with Drake. Hawkins might be dead. Beiji was at a wedding. Lola got married to Gotti, so good for them. They're probably on their honeymoon right now or whatever. What else? Killer's obviously with kids. Zoro's obviously with Luffy. Bonnie's obviously on Egghead as well. Urouge, we still don't know what's up with Urouge, but maybe he'll be relevant next. Maybe next chapter we'll get a whole Urouge chapter. Urouge descends from the heavens, and, he stops the fight between Blackbeard and Law. Just like, stop! I am here now. Yeah. All right, well, anyway, that was the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and, yeah, moving on now to some snake facts. All right, so today's episode of Snake Facts, it's not going to be a long one, but just out of curiosity, I wanted to look up what the rarest snake in the world was, and I found it. It's called the St. Lucia Racer, which sounds like a race car driver, you know? It sounds like I don't know, it sounds like an episode of Scooby-Doo where they travel to St. Lucia in the Caribbean, and they're just like, oh, did you hear? The island is being haunted by the St. Lucia Racer. He was a race car driver that died in a horrible accident 20 years ago and now has returned with a vengeance, and he's got a ghost car, you know. Anyway, St. Lucia, beautiful island. Also love their flag. I love the St. Lucia flag. It's triangle. It's cool. I typically like any flag that has like a bright blue background. I'm just partial to that for whatever reason. Anyway, Lucia Racer is a snake that, this is what it looks like. At least this is what I think it looks like. It's so rare that I'm not even sure if this is actually it. This might be a similar species, but not the one that's actually the St. Lucia Racer. There's less than 20 of these left in the wild around St. Lucia, to the point where they thought they were extinct in 1936. Then they discovered a few species in 1973. And then they thought they were extinct again, and they discovered a few more in 2012, okay? So they keep popping up, so it's like they're not quite extinct yet, but there's probably less than 20 of these in the wild, so not doing too good. And they actually, in 2012, they discovered them on an island off the shore, like still part of St. Lucia. That's an island that's kind of separated from the mainland, and that's a good thing because this island did not have any mongoose on it. Mongoose? I don't know what the plural of mongoose is. But the deadly predator of all snakes worldwide, fear. The mongoose! Oh, God, look at its eyes. It's just filled with snake murder thoughts. Okay, yeah, so, trying to find an island where there's no, mongoose is mongoose. That's probably a good idea there. So, not many of them left, though. That also reminds me of off the coast of New Zealand, there was a species of, I think, stick bug that was believed to be extinct because there were natural predators on the mainland of New Zealand of the stick bug. So they went extinct like decades and decades ago, okay? But there was this one small, little, tiny island that's like more of a rocky outcrop. I think it's called like Ball's Pyramid or whatever. So there's this one rocky outcrop, and they actually discovered a small population of these stick bugs on that island. So that just goes to show, you know, even if a species is extinct, we could still find some isolated region where a natural predator never reached them, or they were able to escape some natural disaster or whatever, or deforestation or something. And it's like, oh, we found this one small little island out in the middle of nowhere that has this species thought to be extinct for well over 100 years or something. Truly remarkable. It's always really interesting whenever I read about stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, that's what's going on with that. That's the rarest snake in the world. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Teching signing out. Later, everyone. What's going to happen next?